You all stepped into the library. What are y'all looking for in here?
I'm trying to see, I guess, if there's any kind of nonfiction books about important like figures of Umberland County or Saltu's finest or anything that's like a you know
Okay.
anything that seems kind of like yeah.
Give me
Yeah.
an investigation check.
I wish to investigate. I will investigate. 12.
12? No. I'll get to you in a sec. Anybody else looking to do something?
Yeah, just try to see if you can find any, like, biographies or things like that.
Okay.
Trix wants to look for a book on astronomy.
Okay. Investigation for both of y'all.
I'm not a sage this time around. It's gonna be harder.
What do I want to
3
look for?
sages
Well,
in the group, and none of you speak Sylvan.
Sylvan, yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out. I was like, what am I gonna roll for? And I just absentmindly rolled my die, and I got a 4. And I was like, well, I guess it doesn't matter.
Answer your own question.
I'm probably just gonna wander the aisles and smell the books.
Smell the books.
Smell them?
Have you not smelled books?
Sniff, sniff, sniff them. It's the tism. Anyway, anybody else looking for stuff? Sick. Cool. Nix and Trix, what did you guys get?
I got a 17.
I got a dirty 20. Yeah.
Okay.
Another one?
Hey.
Damn.
Yeah. Well, I rolled a 17 on the die, and it's +3, so.
So many dirty 20s tonight from everybody.
I know.
I wonder what that's like.
Zeke, you are looking through the nonfiction area, and you find what looks like a compilation of interviews with influential people throughout Saltu. It was written about 6 years ago, and looking at like the chapter headings, you do see one of them is Lyle Evansborough, or Lyle Winsborough, and you flip over to the page. It doesn't have a lot of information on him. It's a lot of like what made him want to start a casino, what his upbringing was, and like what his interests are outside of like running a casino, like what he does in his leisure time. And a lot of it is very vague. In his leisure time, he labels himself as a collector, which he like one of the quotes in there is, the prettier the item, the better. But I'm just looking to have the biggest collection of things, period, that I can get.
Okay.
Nix and Trix. Trix, you are looking for an astronomy book?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And Nix is looking for more Lyle stuff. Nix, you look more in the there's a very small section on records. And you just like looking around, trying to feel like just send your feelers out to try and find a direction to look in. You end up looking in the census, and you find like the census for Umberland County, and you look back, and Lyle is only in there about like 12 years ago. Which, from what you can tell, and you try and look in like other counties and stuff, or like any records of him like importing in, there aren't any records of it. As far as the records show, he just showed up one day. But consistently is in the higher income bracket in Umblin County, which is significant given that that county has collectively a higher income bracket than almost every other county. The only other county having been higher than Umblin was previously I can't remember the name of the county right now, but the county that is now infested with sturges, leaving Umblin to be the highest now.
Driscoll.
Yeah. Tricks. What specifically are you looking for in the astronomy books?
I mean, anything that really catches my eye. Probably something like stars,
Okay.
constellations, anything.
Looking around, you do find one book that was written by a wizard a little over a century ago, that theorized but had no proof of the existence of sentience within stars, saying that when the universe was created, that eventually life sprung from it, and thus there had to be some form of life within the star to give life to other things. And especially given that almost every pantheon has a sun god, but the variances on other gods is pretty wide, suggests that there is something about the sun that gives some sort of cognizance and life. The wizard, at the, just flipping through, looking at the end of the book, does have a place that they can be contacted. Somewhere over in Quincy County, and says if there is any way that you have found to contact either the stars or their children, which I've learned from other spheres that there have been children of stars, please let me know.
Is there a name of this guy?
Kelrix Umblick. I'll type that in Discord. There you go. And the accolades, like in the introductory statement, heralds him as a divination founder of the Blazewood Adventuring Academy.
Sorry, say that again. I'm writing in my diary.
No, it heralds him as a divination wizard who was a founder of the Blazewood Adventuring Academy.
Cool.
Anything else y'all are looking for while you're in this library, or no?
No.
Cool. As you guys are looking around, I'd say Zeke, as you're in the nonfiction section, and you are just kind of like looking between the shelves, you feel that same warmth you felt before, but it's pulling your attention in a couple different directions. And you realize in this alleyway that is a nonfiction section, Lyle and Let me just make sure I have the right name for this guy. Lyle Winsborough and Venny Clearwright. All of their books are right across from each other in the aisle. Like same shelf, same area, complete, like exact opposites in there. Yeah. And you get... You've been around gunfire before, but just the flash, like the feeling of like when you see the flash of a barrel comes into your mind as you're looking between these two stacks of books. Mal, you weren't looking for books, right? What are you doing while everybody's roaming the aisles?
I think kind of doing the same, just kind of roaming the aisles. Maybe like sticking close to Zeke to try and find out more about this guy we're supposed to give these artifacts to. Maybe look up some more, like, even just mythos about the Sunbearer.
Okay.
Because, sure, I've prayed to him a couple of times, but I don't really know that much.
Okay. As you're, like, looking through, like, you hang around with Zeke in the nonfiction area for a bit, but when you start to want to look for Sunbearer bits, you go more to where myth and scripture are.
Yeah.
As most of the time, those two coincide and are almost indistinguishable. And so you start looking through those tomes and even scrolls. And as you're like looking through them, the ones you're gravitating toward, even those that aren't for the Sunbearer, you start to like look through them and you're seeing a pattern. It's not one of destruction as you were expecting with this. You see a lot of commonalities with each of these, as it's also from other pantheons and cultures that these are pulling from, is a sense of somebody putting a show on, whether it's like a show of power to keep people away, or like somebody trying to entertain somebody, a sense of something being put in place, like a picture being painted for someone to look at, is the sense that you get. And much with Zeke, you get the same warmth in your chest as you're like figuring this out.
Okay.
I'll just be like, are you noticing this too?
Certainly noticing pattern.
Dust. What were you doing in this, since you were also not looking for any books in particular?
I was probably just kind of wandering around the libraries because libraries feel nice.
Okay.
Like they just kind of have like a nice feel to them, and there's the smell of books, and there's like it's not super bright in libraries because it's been super bright everywhere else. It's not super bright in libraries, and I'm just kind of like walking around the shelves because I'm not really expecting to find anything in this area necessarily of like what I'm looking for, and everyone else is already looking for books on the people, so I'm like, So I'm just kind of like chilling a little bit.
Okay. You're walking around and like watching everybody else do their investigation, and you are just running your fingers along the shelves, and you decide to take a rest for a second, just waiting till everybody gets done, and you just kind of like find a pillar to just kind of like lean on and rest against. And you didn't think much of it until you look at the floor and you realize that where you're standing currently has a compass rose around this pillar. And like looking up, you see that this is one of the pillars that like branches out to be one of the main load-bearing beams of this building. And like looking between the compass and the fact that this pillar is one of the central ones, you get warm feeling in your chest. Much warmer whenever you are looking at the compass itself.
Okay, I want to kind of go and dig for the pyramid in my pouch in my bag and just like pull it out real quick.
Okay. It glows warmly and gives like that same like dull pulse at the top. Yeah.
I'm gonna take this as I have permission to use this.
Sick.
So, I wonder, like, I might kind of like take a look and like just kind of, I guess, like, since I'm sitting next to a compass, and kind of look at it and just kind of like put the feeling of kind of what I'm looking for, and see if I get like a general direction, like, of where we're gonna go next.
Okay, I'll get back to you in a second. Tricks. Or actually, no, I'll do you now because I'm gonna end on tricks. So, you put feeling trying to figure out where a cornerstone could be. Just trying to figure out what direction you might need to look in for a centerpiece. And you, as you're sitting there and meditating for a second, you see that the gem at the top of the pyramid levitates up, and the pyramid itself opens out. And you see, like, these embers dance around, and you see they kind of make a map of Saltu. And you see a small glow at the bottom of the continent, a little bit east of where the Sturge swarm is. Just east of like where the mountains tip down. And then you see another little blip a little bit south of Blazewood. Not quite like where it completely dips, cutting diagonally at the bottom of the continent, but where it starts to curve. And then you finally see one in the dead center of the Titan Mountains. You, having lived in that area, know that that area is very, very notorious for being wrought with storms and flooding. Especially given that the mountains have kind of like a cradle that they sit in, and there's like a basin at the bottom of this that has a very lively river. And then finally there is one little blip a little bit within where you know the Sturge cloud is, probably at the edge of the swamps down there.
Okay. Huh. This was very helpful. Okay, so I have a map that has a handful of interesting things. I don't know if these are individual things or if I need all of them to make a singular interesting thing. So I guess I'll find out. But I'm just gonna be like, cool, thank you. And then can I like close it and
As you say thank you, the embers kind of coalesce back into the there's not realizing until they recoalesce, there is a piece of like wood that looks like it's constantly like glowing, like after the fire dies, but the logs are still glowing, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the embers go back into it, and the pyramid closes up with the stone stopping at like going back into the top of it.
ooh.
Cool. Tricks. You are looking around, looking between these different astronomy books. You find, like, after you find the book you found, you also find another one that just has star charts.
Okay.
And you are realizing some of them are in the wrong positions, or at least right now they look like they're in the wrong positions. And so you start to like like mentally build a map of like where they should be, and like as you're like flipping, you just start flipping faster and faster, and you realize as they start to dot out, an image comes to your mind of the star you came from, and then rushing through the stars, you see two constellations, both holding what looks like a scepter, and they're just tossing it back and forth. And you see that there is like fire building around them, and it eventually catches them as well. And then the vision fades as you see you've dropped the book. And that same warmth that they've been feeling dissipates.
That's not good. He's gonna run and tell everybody.
Sick.
Noodles that.
Wait a minute, you're feeling the weird too?
Yeah.
Like a worm.
Yeah.
Ooh. My libraries always give me the creeps.
So what? Wait. So what? What did you see? What you got a vision about?
It was two people throwing the scepter back and forth. And then,
Like the one that we have?
I think so. They got engulfed in flames.
That does not sound like a fun time.
No, it does not.
Well, speaking of two names, I keep seeing this pattern coming up between my guy over here, Mr. Winsboro, and also this Vinny Clearwright. I'm gonna start pulling books off the shelf about Vinny Clearwright, try to learn anything I can about them.
I'm gonna bring up that I got a map to show up. I'm like, I know that like I'm looking for my cool thing, but this gave me a lot of different points on the map.
I wonder if those points on your map have anything to do with like it's hard to explain. And then I'm gonna do my best to explain like the painting being created for someone to see. Is it a show of power? Is it just something for others to look at? But I'm gonna do my best to explain the pattern I found.
Okay.
What's all mean, Sunbear? Nick's where you at?
I'm not sure what any of it means, but I'm starting to get the distinct feeling we should not give this back.
Oh. Well.
I'm sorry, I hate to eavesdrop, but and you, looking around, you see, this adolescent person, with, like, this raven black hair kind of peeking under a hood, and, like, these scales around his eyes, and these just two jet black, even for the sclera eyes. The clothing is rags, very much, but, holding, like, a stack of books in one arm. And, like, a little, two sets of winged raven on his shoulder. I've visited many places, and I've noticed that it seems as if the gods are harder to reach, and so their message is harder to make out. I like to help those who are very much in need, and especially because sometimes I may need help. Here, and hands a book over to you. that the cover just says divination, deciphering the messages of dreams. It's helped me so far, and if I can help others in return, I am happy to do so.
Much obliged.
I will say, though, as I have previously followed a god in my time, be cautious of their messages, as most often than not, they either have their own intentions or they're biased.
Right on.
Sorry, I kept up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Understood. And he just kind of disappears back between two of the shelves.
I'm just gonna plop the book down and start thumbing through it, seeing if I can find any index
Yeah,
or
I'm,
table of
like,
contents
reading-
that are starting
Well,
to.
I guess. Sorry, go.
I was gonna say anything that reminds me of what I've been seeing or dreaming about, especially on my big sleep.
And I was gonna say I'm trying to read over his shoulder, but it's probably more likely that I'm trying to squeeze myself between him and the fucking table. So.
Okay.
You can sit in the chair and kind of look, and then I'll just sort of stand over.
Yeah, you guys start poring over this, and Zeke, you looking for anything that has to do with your dreams. Looking through it, having what the book says, having somebody who is familiar in a dream to you, reoccurring over the course of a night or a many dreamscapes in one session, as it's put, can either refer to somebody trying to contact you or somebody impeding your progress. It is worth more investigation, and it depends on the signs within the dream itself. Mal, what are you looking for in this book?
Nothing in particular, just like because I haven't really had any like weird ass dreams, but just like I guess kind of some things like what to look out for, what's like certain symbols. So like if I were to have some sort of divine dream, like I might be a little bit more prepared to decipher
Okay.
when I wake up what it could have meant.
Okay. There's a lot of details there, so instead of giving you straight up information, I will give you advantage on an insight check to try and decipher a dream, either yours or someone else's.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Yep. Cool. Anybody else want to do anything in this library?
Well, I guess after that, I still want to try to see if I can read a little bit about Vinny Clearwright and see what the connection is between them and Mr. Winsborough.
Okay. Looking through the books that are on Venny in the library, he is very much same in the line of Lyle, very new money, and hasn't really wandered outside of Blazewood and tends to send emissaries to collect artifacts on his behalf, either buying them from people or finding them in excavations. And very much, both of them seem to be very large influences in their areas, donating to different places when they can, a lot of people donating to them, as well as having multiple different high rollers that they are in line with. Yeah.
Okay.
all this is starting to make my brain hurt. Are we good here? Can we? Is there anything else we need to check into, or?
Hmm. Well, maybe it'll come to me. I guess I'll go and I'll try to check out this book from about dreams. You know, just
Okay.
just in case while we can. Maybe it'll come to me later and I can think on it. But I'll take that book out and um, while I'm not in maybe in an active, but maybe if let me see. Maybe if my passive investigation of 12 would boon me anything, just to see if on the way to the desk to check out that book, if I see that kid again who handed it to me, just sort of glancing around, just to be like, just
Uh,
curious of that person, and just be like, huh.
On the way over there, you pass by the aisle that the kid went into, and there's no sign. You even like look down a couple aisles adjacent, nowhere. And you go up to the clerk at the front. This warforged that seems to have like multiple different like long passages scrawled into the metal plates on their body. Who turns around and, yes, may I help you?
I'd like to check this book out, if I may borrow it for whatever the period is, a week or whatever, if that's agreeable.
And you see like these lights dance over the book for a second, and then they stop. And my apologies, that doesn't seem to be in our records.
Oh,
May I ask where you got this from?
well, I look like a youngster kind of from. You didn't happen to see anyone with a hood and dark black eyes, the kind of scales around the eyes or anything? You didn't see anybody like that?
The only one I saw come in, other than you all, are the ones who came before you.
But what do they look like?
And he just like points at the other patrons who have just been
Oh,
cruising
I
around.
see.
You are the most recent ones to come through our doors, unfortunately. My apologies.
Well, I guess I'll just hold on to this then. Good day to you, and happy Bears Festival, I suppose.
Of course.
And then just sort of turn to everyone and like mouth very like overtly like, let's go.
And you guys make your way outside into the late afternoon. And with that, sorry, give me 1 second. Once payment is received and hands are shaken, contracts can be burned and ashes scattered to the winds. Paper trail is only useful for those looking to gain an edge on one or more parties involved. No crime can be outran, after all, with the bloody handprint still existing. It's best to remove all traces when you can, but make sure to do what you were paid for first. After all, a deal's a deal.